Hi, Trevor here, reflecting on life through music. Thank you for stopping by. Well, I trust you enjoyed my last video from Aussie singer Christine Anu. And through her song Sunshine on a Rainy Day, we looked at that very thing of when life is a bit dark and a bit yucky, where is this slither of hope and light going to come from? So I trust you found that one encouraging. We're going to a bunch of guys today that were formed in London in 1976. Now, it's around that time that punk rock, with all of its angst and everything else, was a massive thing in the UK. And these guys very much were quite instrumental in the post-punk and new wave kind of thing. We had Joe Strummer on guitar and vocals. We had Mick Jones on lead guitar, Paul Simonon in bass, and Nick Tapper heading on drums. Now, I talked about Buddy Holly a little while ago, and the two guitar kind of thing. Well, The Clash, who we're talking about today, well and truly did that as well. Put these guys, as I said, post-punk, a bit of new wave, so kind of ushering out the old and bringing in the new, reggae, dub, ska, rockabilly. Now, unfortunately, Joe left us in 2003, and it was because of that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inducted The Clash into the hall in 2004. Rolling Stone put them number 28 in their top 100 artists of all time. So this just goes to show how well regarded The Clash actually were. They debuted as a support for the Sex Pistols in 1976. So this goes to show that these guys hit the ground running. If they were formed in 1976 and they actually supported the Sex Pistols in 1976, that's pretty amazing actually to do that. Between 1977 and 1985, 6 studio albums, 2 live albums, 9 compilation albums, 2 video albums, 13 music videos, 2 EPs, 31 singles, 4 box sets. It's estimated the Clash have sold 6.3 million albums. Interestingly, 4.2 of those were in the US and 1.2 in the UK. Seems like even though these guys were in the UK, they really hit a nerve and a resonance in the US. And we're going to get on to a New York concert in a little while. Just also think about the name The Clash for a second. You know, the concept of, something hitting something else, trying to make a bit of an impact, trying to speak into the world, not through calmness and all the rest of it, but the minute you put in, pelting vocals and pelting drums and pelting rock and the whole angst of the punk rock thing, the world actually stands up and takes notice. This is really truly what happened with The Clash. I think there's something quite intentional about the name there. Obviously, that's just me making it up. But when I look at their name and actually put in some of the songs that these guys did, it kind of might have made sense. Now, when you talk about The Clash as one album, you have to talk about in particular. This album was dubbed the best album of the 1980s. Rolling Stone have actually put this as one of the best albums of all time. It was number 8 in 2003's top list and number 16 in 2020. So 17 years after that first number 8, they were still in the top 20, which is pretty amazing. The album was London Calling. Now, this has been hailed as a very significant album in the world of post-punk in particular, because it explored all of these genres I talked about before: reggae, dub, ska, and rockabilly. And certainly it brought The Clash, which through this album, which was a double album actually, into the worldwide attention. Absolutely stunning album, this one. It's one of those albums that we kind of always remember because of its significance in the world of music. Now, there's probably one of the songs, when you think about The Clash, you think about the song London Calling, which obviously came off that album of 1979. And again, along the lines of The Clash trying to yell a voice into the world, this is all about what inspired this song was the 3 Mile Island nuclear accident in the US in 1979. Obviously, The Clash would be thinking, why are we even going down this track? Look what happens. we kind of do things, and then mankind kind of works out what to do with it later. Obviously, Chernobyl was another disaster. In Chernobyl's case, it was a classic case of pressure put on from above to try and get this thing working, and of course safeguards weren't kept, and the rest is history. We still can't go into that part of the world all these years later. Around that time also, there was a flood in the River Thames. So obviously, and London Calling, it was very much around the concept of the radio and London Calling, because one of the things that you had to do if there was a bombing like in World War II, London Calling was like a bit of a call sign to say, hey guys, take action. Of course, London did get quite bombed on in the Second World War in particular. Also has a little bit of a dig at police brutality and tries to work out why that needs to happen. I suppose the other side of the coin is why does violence happen that the police aren't part of, and then they actually have to come and try and deal with it. This is the issue of being a policeman in this day and age. Of course, brutality, you should never use your power for bad, and this is one of the issues that police has had, I suppose. But also, law-abiding citizens shouldn't use violence either. So I think it's a classic case of both sides needing to have a little bit of a think. Because we're going to riot and protest, and of course we have the right to be able to protest, but peacefully. When we get to riots and start smashing windows and tossing things at cars, that's probably not getting past protest. We're getting to just passion taking over and sense leaving the world a bit. I don't know as a policeman how you deal with that sort of thing. Of course, police are videoed with cameras these days, and so it doesn't take long for it to get around. And so yeah, London Calling, and I think the thing I want to take away from this particular song today is, and again with the Clash, is that the world doesn't seem to listen very well. Who do I mean by the world? Well, I suppose it's those that make the decisions, those that kind of influence us a bit, and they set the trend, and we all kind of follow. Talk about trends at the moment: mobile phones, headphones, black jackets, activewear, all that sort of thing. We're very, very happy and eager to just follow the trend, follow the way things are. There's not much individuality anymore. So the minute we find a trend, we think, oh, that's good. That's a safe place to be. I'll be cool if I wear that stuff. Reminds me of Loki in whichever movie it was. I think it might have been Thor or Avengers or one of those, where he actually says us as human beings have a desire to be ruled. Now, obviously, when you hear that sort of thing, you think, oh, come on, Loki, get over yourself. But there's another concept, and that is that, like, hang on a minute, we follow trends so easily, and it's almost like now mobile phones have actually won. And, and this is where we come, and we don't know the repercussions of what's actually going to happen because of this. We're losing our ability to talk to each other. We're losing our ability to connect. Even when we take our children out for a walk, we're on our phones or we've got headphones in, even if babies, babies need connection, particularly when they're at that young age. They need to know who human beings are. Got headphones in your ears, well, that's not really going to work. Even with our pets, we have this desire to keep up and to follow the trend. And what the Clash were actually saying was, hang on a minute, we're not. We're calling out to you. London is calling back. We're calling out to the world here. Hey, stand up and take notice. We have this ability to kind of come up with these brilliant ideas, and then we deal with repercussions later. We took, again, mobile phones, and now there's all this research around the impact it's having on our sleep and all the rest of it. So, sometimes we need a band to come out and actually call out society for what it is and realise that, hang on a minute, guys, we could be doing better than we are. And because we've got this worldwide voice, particularly in the US, we're going to actually make sure the world hears in the loudest, clashiest way that we possibly can. And so I think what I'm sort of trying to say in a kind of a bit of a way, in a clashy kind of way, I suppose, today, is where's our uniqueness and originality gone? Everyone's following the crowd now. And you know, we have this desperate need to be included and to be part of something, that we're losing ourselves a little bit in this world. And you know, history has shown us people like J.K. Rowling and Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and a few others like that who dared to be different. The world actually resonates with people who are different. It might be hard, it might be a little bit lonely at times, but I think it's really, really good to realise that the world actually needs us to be unique. It doesn't need us to be all the same. So this is, I suppose, Trevor calling out to the world to say, hey, let's have a little think about our uniqueness and our individuality. And a call out to those who have the influence to actually think, hey guys, can we just have a bit of a think about what we're doing and to work out, you know, if things can be done different. Is humanity getting benefited really? Not just in the short term, it's all very easy to deal with the short term, but in the long term, what are the long-term effects of where we are going? So please forgive me for saying this stuff, but I suppose when you're on YouTube, I'm certainly not trying to be political. I'm not trying to put forward a point of view. I'm really just looking at society a little bit and thinking, oh, can we do it differently somehow? And it's up to each of us to decide, of course. With all these different diversities out there these days, who says that, you know, non-diversity is the way? Even neurodiverse now, you know, people on the spectrum, they have a way of thinking and a way of being and a way of looking at life differently, and perhaps a really, really good way. So who defines what normal is anymore? So I trust that will all be an encouragement for you today. I don't actually really know what I was saying today. I think I was just airing a little bit of sadness, I suppose, for the way humanity is at the moment. So, well, on to the clips. And so we do have the song London Calling. We have a live version of this one and also the official clip. As again, off one of the best albums of the 1980s. An absolutely brilliant song off an absolutely stunning album. And here we get to see how loud and incredibly excitable the Clash actually were. These guys were such a compelling act on stage. And these guys really, really enabled the world to stand up and take notice about the words they're actually saying. Of course, Joe Strummer was an incredible songwriter, and he was able to just really capture the mood of society at the time. And so when you put him with his bass and guitar and drums and everything else, absolutely compelling act, The Clash. We then got Should I Stay or Should I Go? This came off Combat Rock of 1982. This is a live version from the Shea Stadium in the United States in New York. And, you know, in typical Clash style, the way they get introduced. No baseball here tonight. We've got something a bit better. Is everyone excited? And of course, everyone goes, yay. And then they say, and next minute, the whole stadium erupts. And when the Clash come on stage, it's absolutely electrifying to see these guys and what they're capable of doing. Of course, a lot rested on Joe, really, being lead vocalist, to be able to carry the tune and to carry the song amongst all of the noise that was going on. He just had to go with it, really, and be really, really excited on stage as well. This is a band who knew exactly who they were and exactly what they were capable of. And they also knew how to make the crowd go crazy. And so this is what made the Clash so compelling. So, Combat Rock 1982. We then got Rock the Casbah. This is probably the song where I first heard the Clash back in 1982. Apparently, the story goes, a song about someone in a culture where rock music is really frowned upon and is basically wearing them down and changing that view. So Rock the Casbah is exactly what it's about. It's all about, hey guys, listen to our music because it's pretty good. We're not ashamed to say that because we're the Clash. So the links to those 5 clips are in the description below. That's all where you'll always find my links. And I've also included my last video on someone from completely different, and that is Christine Arnaud. So if you want to recap on her, feel free. Well, that's it for today. If this is your first time to Life Reflections through music and trying to work who on earth this Trevor guy is, well, we get into all sorts of things. We've gone from the darkness of life to making statements today. Well, you know, we reflect here. And so thank you for hanging around to everybody. If you've come back for another one, always great to see you guys come back. Well, that's it for today. Next time we're going to go onto a super group of the 1970s. Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. Sometimes it was just Crosby, Stills and Nash. Whatever the combination, it's going to be those four iconic guys next time. So until then, I'll catch you around. Bye for now.